In this video I'm looking at text wrap in Adobe InDesign. Looking at how to make text wrap around an object. It's actually extremely easy to do in this software, and there's no other Adobe software that does it this easily. Nothing in here is manual, it's actually very automated. So we're going to look at a few different ways that can be used. Starting first with just grabbing a text box here and dragging one out that fills the majority of the page, and then I'll go to the type menu and fill that with placeholder text. What I'm going to do with this is bring in some shapes and also use this photo that I have and show some different methods of utilizing text wrap. So if I start with, say, something simple, just a rectangle, I'll click and drag out a rectangle and I'll fill it with color so we can see it a little bit better. And then text wrap is applied not to the text itself, but to the object that you're wrapping around. So it kind of repulses the text. It keeps it from crossing over it anymore. Obviously right now, the shape is simply covering it up. So if I go up to the window menu at the top, I can see my text wrap option here. And if I click that, I can use it, and these little boxes at the top, these little buttons at the top, are the main forms of text wrap. The one you'll use most often is wrap around object shape, and if I do that, it automatically, the text is avoiding this rectangle. You also notice that the text is, for example, right here on the side, coming right up on the edge of it. That's not desirable. You want to have some cushion there, so you have this additional little space that you can create to increase this, and you'll see this line, this colored line that corresponds to the layer that you're on. As far as what color it is, that extends from the outside and shows you where the text will basically stop. So that can be increased, and you can also, in the case of a rectangle, I can hit this little chain link to unlink all of these, and then I can make more space on the bottom or more space on the left than there is on the right, etc. I can manipulate that individually based on the side. Now if we take something like a circle, let's do that, and let's grab an ellipse tool and click and drag out a circle and fill it with space. Then I can give the same effect, but notice it doesn't allow me to do multiple sides. Obviously the circle only has one side, so we can just increase this one, and it increases it around the edge there. Something else to mention, underneath my main selection tool I'll see the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow versus the black one. And if I zoom in and I make use of this line, I can actually select that text wrap line and I can manipulate it. However, once I do that, I lose the ability to articulate it using the gap options here inside the dialog box. So that's something to remember. You can go in there and manipulate it and customize it, but after you do that, you're no longer able to adjust it here. Let's look at the example of the image, because the idea, and something that you'll want to do fairly often, is take an image like this with a white background, and you're going to want text to wrap around the object itself. So let's look at a way to do that. For one thing, it is very important that the image here with the white background be beneath the text. That's not the case with objects, but in order for this to work properly, because it does have a white background attached to it, it needs to be beneath the text. So then I'm going to text wrap that image, and I'm going to use contour options and select detect edges, and that's going to use the edges of the guitar as best as Illustrator can figure it out to go directly along the edge. Now it's not quite right. In fact, if I look over here, you can see it's even cutting in a little bit. That's not quite right. So I can do the same thing as I do with the circle, increase the gap, increase the cushion, and that will give me a better result. And if it really came down to it, the direct selection tool, I can go in and grab these little bounding boxes and I can adjust them as they see fit, but it is a little tricky to do. It can take some practice and it can take some work, because you usually have multiple of these little bounding boxes that you can choose from. So that's the basic of text wrapping. It's all done through this little panel, and the most important one to remember when it comes to wrapping around a photo is this option that has detect edges. That's where you're going to get your best result.